Maria's hands shook as she clutched the piece of paper, her heart pounding in sync with the message's ominous words. At noon today, a bomb will explode at the children's festival. You have exactly 3 hours to stop it. The clock is ticking. Her breath caught in her throat as she read it again, praying it was a mistake, a twisted prank. But deep down, Maria knew the truth. This was no joke. The festival was packed with children and their families, all blissfully unaware of the danger lurking beneath their feet. The day was meant to be filled with laughter, joy, and innocence. But if Maria didn't act, it would end in devastation. The faint sound of children's laughter from outside contrasted with the weight in her chest. The park was only a few blocks away, and in less than 3 hours, it could become a site of unspeakable tragedy. She slammed her hand on the table, shaking off the paralysis creeping over her. There was no time to waste. She had to act now. Hour 1, the beginning. Maria rushed out of her apartment, dialing the police as she went. The authorities couldn't afford to dismiss this as a hoax. As the call connected, she tried to explain the situation as calmly as she could, but their response chilled her to the bone. "Ma'am, we're aware of the threat, but we're stretched thin right now. We'll send someone as soon as possible," the operator said, her voice annoyingly even, as if reading from a script. Frustration bubbled up inside Maria. They weren't taking it seriously. She couldn't rely on them. If anything was going to be done, it would have to be by her. As she neared the festival, Maria's mind raced. Who would want to harm innocent children? Could it be someone with a personal vendetta? Or was this the work of a faceless terrorist, set on making a point with their evil? Panic threatened to overtake her, but she forced it back. She had no choice but to think clearly. She scanned the festival grounds, her eyes flicking from face to face. Hundreds of children ran around in colorful costumes, laughing and playing, unaware of the threat looming above them. Parents stood by, snapping pictures, their guards down in the bliss of the sunny afternoon. She had to find the bomb. And fast. Hour 2, the clues. Maria approached the festival organizer, a kind-looking man named Eduardo. "Excuse me, I think something terrible is about to happen. We need to evacuate the area. There's been a bomb threat." Eduardo's face drained of color, but he kept his composure. "A bomb? Here." He glanced around at the cheerful scene, unable to reconcile it with the terror Maria described. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I don't know where it is, but there's no time to argue. We have to get the children out of here." Eduardo nodded, pulling out his walkie-talkie to signal his team. But as they began the process of evacuation, chaos erupted. Some parents, overhearing snippets of the conversation, panicked, grabbing their children and screaming for others to run. The peaceful festival turned into a wave of confusion, making it nearly impossible to organize the crowd. Maria's heart sank. The ticking clock was still against them. Amid the panic, she noticed something strange. In the corner of the festival grounds was a large mechanical structure, a clock tower, part of the festival's theme of time through the ages. The clock's hands pointed ominously close to noon. A feeling of dread washed over her as she realized what she had missed before. The bomb wasn't hidden randomly in the park. It was in the clock tower, set to detonate when the hands struck 12. Hour 3, the countdown. With shaking legs, Maria sprinted towards the tower. It stood tall, imposing, a monument to time itself. The closer she got, the louder the ticking became, echoing in her ears like a death knell. There was no way to know how big the bomb was or how much damage it could cause, but it didn't matter. The children needed her, and she would do everything in her power to stop this nightmare from becoming a reality. Maria reached the base of the tower and noticed a maintenance door slightly ajar. Inside, the air was thick with dust and grime, but in the dim light, she saw it. a device rigged to the clock's inner workings, wires running into a small box with a blinking red light. Her hands trembled as she examined the bomb. She was no expert, but she had seen enough movies to know that cutting the wrong wire could be disastrous. Her phone rang, making her jump. It was Eduardo. "Maria, the police are here. They're trying to secure the perimeter, but the bomb squad is still 20 minutes away." Maria glanced at the clock. 10 minutes until noon. "There's no time, Eduardo," she whispered, her voice barely steady. "I have to disarm it. Don't do anything rash. Wait for the professionals." Eduardo pleaded, but waiting wasn't an option. Maria had to decide, cut the wire and risk everything, or do nothing and watch the children die. Her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the device, its red light flashing faster now, as if taunting her. With trembling fingers, she reached for the wire cutter she found lying in a maintenance toolbox nearby. The bomb had 3 wires, red, blue, and yellow. Which one? The minutes seemed to stretch on forever as Maria's mind raced. She closed her eyes, trusting her gut. She picked the blue wire. The final second, Maria's fingers gripped the cutter. She inhaled deeply, her heart pounding as the second hand on the clock moved closer to noon. She cut the wire. The ticking stopped. For a moment, Maria couldn't believe it. The bomb had been disarmed. She sank to the ground, her legs weak from adrenaline. Outside, the sounds of panic slowly faded as the police took control, evacuating the remaining festival goers. Maria's phone buzzed with Eduardo's relieved voice. "You did it, Maria. You saved them." Maria looked up at the clock tower, the hands frozen just a second before noon. She had raced against time.